Have you ever noticed how the smallest excuses are the ones that derail you the fastest? Not the big life events, not the big emotional moments. I mean the tiny ones, the ones that whisper instead of shout, the ones that barely register because they sound reasonable, the ones like, I don't feel like it, the ones that feel like self care or logic or being realistic. Things like, I'll start after lunch. I'll do that extra tomorrow. Today's not ideal. I don't have time. I'll make up for it later. Micro excuses. They're quiet, they're small, they're sneaky, and they're powerful. Because micro excuses don't just steal your momentum, they end up rewriting your identity in the smallest, most subtle ways. They teach your brain that goals are just optional, that commitments are just suggestions. And the true reason is micro excuses. What's crazy is that's what keeps most of us stuck. It's not a lack of discipline, not a lack of time, not a lack of motivation. It's micro excuses. And today's episode is going to change the way you think about excuses. I'm going to teach you how to spot micro excuses in real time, how to shut them down, and how to build an identity that in which you follow through on automatically, even on your busiest, messiest, most I don't feel like it days. Because if you want your next level of consistency, we got to get rid of the micro excuses that are tripping you up along the way. Hey guys, welcome to the Confidence Podcast. This is episode 680, and I'm your host, Trish. So glad that you're here. And I want to go back to what we just said in the intro about micro excuses tripping us up. Now, some of you know this, maybe you don't, but one of my sports that I enjoy as an adult is hockey. And I was playing pickup hockey this past weekend, and we were sitting on the bench and we are rotating in for this pickup game. And there's a thing in hockey that when you fall, but you trip over your own skates, we go, oh, you trip over the blue line, meaning you're tripping over something that's not even there. And it destroys your entire speed and destroys your opportunity to go get the puck, your play of the game. We trip over our own feet over an invisible line that's not even there. And if you know hockey, you know the blue line I'm talking about. If you don't know hockey, all you need to know is it's a line on the ice, but it's not a tripping hazard. You just skate over top of it, right? Like it's painted on. That's what micro excuses do. They trip us up. They are teeny tiny, sneaky thoughts that quietly interrupt your consistency. They sabotage your follow through and they keep you from becoming the version of yourself that you know you can be. I'm so much less interested in who you've been in the past and way more interested in who you are becoming. And that's actually the coaching content we are breaking down in the College of Confidence this month at the time of the recording. This concept that it's not too late to become what is your at your greatest potential. I don't want us to measure ourselves by our past. I want you to define and measure yourself and call yourself up to your greatest potential, to your potential, not to your past. And what are micro excuses? They sound harmless. They're small little statements that justify inconsistency. They justify procrastination. They justify, and they're often very logical, our reason that we don't want to do what we had committed to do more often than not for ourselves. Micro excuses compound into macro net negative results of stagnation, self-doubt, and stalled goals. I want to let's dive in. And the reason I like this idea of micro excuses, I like taking everything and breaking it down to be the lowest viable thing that we can look at because then it's manageable. And one of my most well listened to podcast episodes is micro complaining. If you go back and type in micro complaining, you'll find it. Because when we catch a complaint, we can catch ourselves from that micro negativity that will grow and snowball. And gosh, complaining creates this massive drain on our joy, on our confidence, on all things. And micro excuses are the same thing. They're small, they're micro moments where you give yourself permission to give up, to delay, to pause. You give yourself permission to break your identity, to avoid discomfort, or to delay action. And again, they sound so harmless, but they create inconsistency and self-doubt. Sometimes micro excuses are very justified. In fact, I just got back from the gym and I have a whole bunch of things to do on my agenda today before my kids get off the school bus. And I could list out the 15 reasons why I shouldn't be recording this podcast right now. But the podcast needs to get published tomorrow, which means it needs to get edited today and posted. And I got to send it to my assistant. And there's a whole process. And so when I didn't feel like doing it right now, I had about 10 micro excuses about why I shouldn't. Well, I don't really love how my hair looks today. And some of you watch on video. I don't have the time. I wasn't feeling inspired. I'm having some cramping. Look, I've got lots of reasons not to do this. But the biggest reason I show up is because I want to be a person who keeps their word to themselves. And I also know that micro excuses are a slippery slope, and they will spiral down into this just pit of feeling like you're working really hard at life and nothing's moving forward. And we've already given you some, but hey, I'll just do it later. I even started saying to myself, I'll do it tonight. And here's where we have to have our own micro come to Jesus moments with ourselves. We have to tell ourselves the truth. So the truth is, when I had the micro excuse of I'll record the podcast tonight, I am not a nighttime person. What am I thinking? That I'm going to magically feel really energized after I take my kids to hockey and make dinner for my family. I walk my dog, get my kids to bed, clean up the kitchen, make the coffee, get everything set for the next day. Then at 8:30, I'm going to feel really inspired to coach. I know myself well enough. I had to tell myself, Trish, you're kidding. So then I came up with another excuse. You know what? I'll get up at 4 a.m. And I went, no, that's just an excuse. Do what you don't want to do. Everything that you want is on the other side of what you don't want to do. And the hardest thing is just starting. Once you start what you said you're going to do, the rest is easy. But when we listen to the micro excuses as if they're reasonable, we become stuck in a state of stagnant drifting, of never being good enough, of distraction, of I'll just scroll for a minute. I'll skip today. No one will know. It won't make a difference. Or it's not a good time. Or I just don't feel like it. You'll start believing your own excuses and justifications. And then you will find yourself looking at the success of other people and wondering why it never worked out for you. Because the people who succeed, people who design their dream lives, people do the thing that they want to do. It's not hard. It's not complicated. It's not because they're more talented, blessed, any of it. They just stay the course. They simply keep their promises to themselves. They simply follow through, and they don't listen to the micro excuses. I am okay with the fact that my brain comes up with lots of excuses. I just don't listen to it. In the same way, I'm very okay that my beautiful children complain sometimes or try to ask me for something. I just don't listen. It's okay that Baker asks for screen time more than I will give it to him. He can ask. It is not a problem. So I want you to neutralize any judgment here. It's okay that your brain comes up with these statements of I don't feel like it, maybe tomorrow, I'm not ready, I don't trust myself. Just notice the thought, look at it so you can separate yourself from it. When we don't identify the thought, we are then too close to it, and the thought feels like it takes us over, and we lose our sense of control and choice. When you can separate and realize that I am making an excuse, and you separate that statement from who you are, then you can look at it and decide, do I want to drink that Kool-Aid or drink a different Kool-Aid? So when I realized I was making a micro excuse in even recording this episode, I had to look and ask myself, okay, I see you. Hey, excuse, I see you. Hey, fatigue, I see you. But I'm going to do what I committed to anyway. And so when you separate yourself from it, you can speak to it. It doesn't feel as close to your identity. Before I learned that technique, I was just like, oh, I just can't get myself to do something. You can get yourself to do anything. You just have to separate yourself from the thought and give yourself more power. You have more power in your brain than your thoughts have over you. But you have to be the boss of your brain instead of letting your brain be the boss of you. And when we don't identify and call ourselves out on the micro excuses for what they are justifications, they are excuses, they may be completely reasonable. But either you're going to be a person who lives your life based on excuses, or you're going to be a person who powers through no matter the excuse or challenge or hurdle that comes your way. And the reason micro excuses are so toxic is because they train your brain not to believe yourself. They train your brain not to, you make a commitment and you're like, well, I hope I keep my motivation. As if motivation was the reason we have follow through. The reason you will succeed this year or at a goal or not is simply if you believe your excuses or not. We all have a lot of the hierarchy of human needs is really to avoid pain, seek pleasure, and do things in the least amount of effort as possible to conserve energy. So of course your brain is going to come up with excuses to protect yourself from all of the extra work, which is why we have to know and hear the voice of the micro excuse to be able to go, oh, that's my excuse voice. I don't have to listen to it. I have a different language. The language I follow it is not the language of excuses. It's the language of commitment. You ever around somebody that everything they do is over-explained? They make excuse after excuse after excuse of why they couldn't do this, and then they couldn't do that, and then why it didn't work out that, and why they didn't send that email, and why they haven't done this. It's exhausting. I don't like being around people who make excuses. And if you don't either, then we need to make sure that we are not people who are making excuses for ourselves. So because excuses weaken your self-trust. And what is so tragic is they make you a negative person without you even realizing that you are. They make you victim to how you feel, victim to your circumstances, victim to all the reasons versus victor in your own life. They take away your power. They take away the control that you have. They take you away from your goals without even noticing. Now, can we again have some compassion for ourselves? The brain prefers comfort over growth. So micro excuses reduce comfort. They give us instant relief. They also reveal that you have a desire for ease, and that's okay. But we have to identify, choose there, because there's an identity conflict that happens when you believe and follow through on your micro excuses. You are then in conflict with the version of you that says you want to be a person who follows through. And then there's also a version who goes, I avoid pressure, I avoid, and I look for the easy path. Do you want to create with your life or avoid? There's an avoidance or an approach mentality here. And micro excuses, the other thing about them is they often hide in perfectionism, overthinking, perfect timing, waiting for perfect timing, waiting for motivation. Anytime you're waiting, you're probably making the excuse of why you can't take action right now. We can always take action. You can always do something. There's always something that is within your power. And when you focus on what you can do instead of what you can't, which your excuses are telling you what you can't do, when you focus on what you can do, then you get the power back. Then you are back in control of your life. So here's I wanted to provide more examples of common micro excuses, in particular that high achievers use. I need to think about it more first. I'll start after I fill in the blank, do this, work on this project, clean this kitchen, get my master's degree. I'll start after. Gosh, the day just got away from me. I'll be more motivated tomorrow. I'll feel like it tomorrow. This week is crazy. Next week will be better. I'll get back on track after the holidays, the weekend, this trip. Let me check my phone first. I don't want to start. I don't want to start and not do well. I'll do it when I feel more confident. I'll do it when I feel the mythical ready, because there's no such thing as ready. Ready is a unicorn. There's no such. I'll skip journaling today. I basically already know what I would write. Micro excuses are micro decisions to not show up for yourself. And there's emotion with different categories. You've got emotional micro excuses, the I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I don't feel like it. And these outsource your decisions to emotion. So micro excuses, when you listen to them, you're outsourcing versus holding on to control and having authority and power in your life. Or there's also productivity micro excuses. I should do blank first. I need to get organized before I start. I can't start until the house is clean. And these mask avoidance as efficiency. Then we also have confidence micro excuses. The I don't want to mess it up. I'll start when I feel more ready. I'm not sure how to do it yet. I need to over prepare more. And these hide fear under the illusion of preparation. Then there's permission based micro excuses. It's just today. No one will know if I skip. One time doesn't matter. And then what this is subtly doing is rewriting your identity around inconsistency. Then there's comparison micro excuses. This is everyone else is further ahead. It's too late to start. This tiny step won't matter. And this shrinks your action before you even begin. Micro excuses, when you listen to them, create micro evidence that you don't follow through, that your feelings run the show, that you break your promises to yourself, that you choose comfort over growth, and that you avoid pressure and you don't trust yourself. That builds an identity of insecurity and it erodes your identity of confidence. When you focus instead on owning your decisions, staying committed to do what you said you're going to do, you are creating micro deposits of self-trust, and self-trust is confidence. Um, some of the most predictable times that we have that these micro excuses sort of surface are at moments of transition. They're often when you're most vulnerable. They're often when we're tired. They're often when there's something we care about. Well, the reason that my micro excuses surfaced about my podcast recording today is because I very much care about the delivery of it. I very much care that if you're going to take the time to listen, that you benefit from the coaching I'm going to put out. So when I don't feel emotionally inspired, sometimes it's harder to coach. It's hard to sit behind the microphone and get my delivery where I want it to be. And so that's predictable. When I'm tired or when I care a lot about the result, sometimes the excuses create a desire for avoidance, and that micro excuse language becomes louder in my head. It might be before workouts, before journaling. It might be when you're during travel. It might be when the kids interrupt you, right when you're waking up, when you're transitioning between tasks. Maybe when you have an emotional spike or hormonal cycle, when something unexpected happens. When we know that these vulnerable moments happen and you look at where do you tend to make the most excuses? Where do micro excuses show up in your life? And once you see the predictable pattern of where they show up, you will have predictable control to prevent the excuses from happening. You will know, this is where my brain offers me an exit. I'm not interested in the temporary reprieve of ease and pressure, and I'm way more interested in the result and the goal of what I care about building in my life. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I said I'm going to do, even though I don't feel like it. And so I want to remind you that a tiny choice that you make in the moment reinforces if you're going to be a person who sticks to what you say you're going to, or you're going to be a person who makes and responds to excuses. A micro decision is simply a tiny action where you can immediately say, I hear my micro excuse and I'm going to counter it with a micro decision. So my micro excuse about not feeling like doing a podcast recording immediately was countered with get my phone ready, review my outline, pour myself, if you're watching my micro decision was to make myself an espresso. And if you're watching on the video, I have a very cute little espresso cup from my friend Anna. So first it was, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. And then I made a micro decision to take one tiny action. So sometimes we can get out of the micro excuses. We can respond through reframing, through having a conversation with ourselves and calling ourselves out and go, hey girl, that's an excuse. Call your brain out on what it is offering to you and say, I'm not interested in excuses right now. If that doesn't fix the issue for you, then I want you to make a micro decision to do a micro action. Once you take one step of one tiny action, the rest of the momentum will come. So I started my espresso machine, made this, that, told myself it doesn't matter if you're too tired. You can take a break after that. You'll walk the dog, you'll have lunch, but we start with coffee. Once I start with coffee, then I go, oh, I always, man, coffee, man. If I feel like even if I don't even have a sip, I feel more mentally sharp. So that got me instantly more in the mode of like, it's record time, it's go time, it's coach time. And that reinforces. And when you're able to take action on one tiny thing, you are reinforcing the identity of being an action taker and person who follows through, and that you reinforce the identity that you want, not the feeling you're having. So maybe it's you make the coffee, maybe it's you send the email, maybe you breathe very intentionally for 10 seconds. Maybe you straighten everything on your desk and clutter and go, okay, 3, 2, 1. When this is done, I take action on the task. But action will be a pattern interrupt that says, not this time. One tiny step now. Move anyway. Take action. The action that you can take will override the I don't feel like it. That's pressing in on you. My takeaway for you today is that you have more control over your action and your excuses than you think. And it's up to us to be first put on the awareness lens of where in my life, where in my day, what are the patterns in which I have an internal narrative of excuses. And if I'm honest enough without shaming myself, it's human to want to make excuses. It's human that we want things to be easier. So we're not beating ourselves up for being excuse makers. We all are. It's a matter of, are you going to tell the excuses to get back into the back seat? Or are you going to let them keep driving the car? I'm okay that they're there in the brain, but we're giving them way too much power because we're not challenging them or questioning them. And so we need to start acknowledging and identifying where are we making small micro excuses. And then what do we want to say to them? Can we talk back to them, put them in their place, or will we feel them and they feel pretty intense? I mean, I had like 10 racking up. That's when I went, oof, that's a lot to reframe. I'm just going to go take some tiny action. And once you start taking action, action begets more action. And it's a lot easier to be productive. That tiny decision to act really takes the power from the excuse of inaction that makes you want to preserve energy, not do anything, avoid. Now, if you're interested in taking these concepts of eliminating micro excuses for good in your life, especially for the year ahead, right now, at the time of recording, it's December. It is time is to start identifying exactly what you want for the year ahead. December is the month. We don't plan our New Year's resolutions on January 1st. We don't plan and design our life unless you want to be somebody that drops the average person who drops the resolution within 6 weeks. If you want to design your life on purpose and design your goals and actually achieve the dream, we got to be intentional ahead of time, put together a plan, and more importantly, put together the thought and belief plan that will get you to follow through in ways that you never have before. Because the only reason if there's any goal that you've not accomplished in the past, it's simply not because you weren't good enough, but probably just because you gave up too early. And you probably gave up because you didn't know how to identify the micro excuses that were poking holes at your resolve, at your belief, at your follow through. And so follow through is a formula. It is a skill. And I actually want to give you an invite to come and join me. This is one of my I only do this once a year. It's one of my most requested and look forward to events. We have an online live workshop series called the Follow Through Formula. We are going to be mapping out everything that you want for 2026, and we're approaching goals differently than you have ever before. This is not just goal setting. It is goal setting. It is year planning, but through the lens of follow through. It's called the Follow Through Formula, and we're going to be planning everything for 2026. You can go and get your invite where it's happening December 11th and 12th. So you got to take action. Go grab your spot. Great. Accept your invite at trishblackwell.com/FFF. So just easy, 3 F's, trishblackwell.com/FFF. You can grab your invite there, reserve your spot. I can't wait. This is going to be an entirely fresh approach to goal setting and goal follow through. So if this topic resonated, this is that next step for you. I'm so honored to be a coach in your life. If you haven't yet hit follow or subscribe to the show, whatever platform you listen to, please make sure you're following the show so you get notifications of when we release new episodes. And if you have another friend who likes personal development, do me a favor, forward them this episode, forward them this show. There is nothing better than nerding out with a friend on. I love my friends that listen to the same podcast as me, because then I have accountability, somebody to talk about it with. And that's what I want to offer to you. One of the best ways to take this content even deeper is to have somebody else in your life who's also listening. So pay it forward, share the episode. Make sure, if you haven't already, press that subscribe button and leave a review so that more people can find the show. What a privilege it is for me to be a voice of coaching and belief and confidence in your life. Don't forget that you are a world changer and difference maker, and the growth that you are working on in yourself, it matters. It's expanding your capacity. It's expanding your impact. And every day we're going to be 1% of 1% better. And that is something to be proud of.